My name is Corey Bishop, and this is Bones to Life. There's a verse in Jeremiah that feels right for this conversation. Stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. Kevin's story is full of those crossroads. Moments he didn't recognize at the time, but now can look back on and see God gently calling him back to the path of life. Today, you'll hear how a kid raised in the Bible Belt drifted into busyness, loss, and distraction, and how God used friendship, quiet conviction, and even the chaos of the digital world to draw him home again. You'll also hear about a new project Kevin and a longtime friend are building. Something meant to push back against the noise and negativity we've all felt online, and to create a space where faith and gratitude can breathe again. But more than anything, this is a testimony about the subtle ways God pursues us. The seeds planted, the prayers whispered, and the moments that don't feel holy until we look back and realize that they were. So let's listen in with open minds and open hearts as Kevin shares his story.
Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this space and for the company I have tonight. Thank you so much for bringing Kevin to me this evening to share a little bit about his life, his testimony, and his new project, his new ministry. Lord, I ask that you are with us tonight so that we might share the good news and so that we might be able to reach those that really need to be reached and help bring them back to you, Lord. Lord, I ask these things in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me tonight from across the country. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for reaching out. And really, I'm just going to toss you the ball. I'm going to allow you to share your testimony with us and then tell us anything else that you need.
I appreciate it, Corey. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure speaking with you. And I'm inspired by even what you told me, the mission of your podcast, and what moved inside of you to do this. And I love it. I think your goals, your outlook really align with what we're trying to do and what I believe. So on that note, I grew up personally in Oklahoma City, so smack dab in the Bible Belt. And it's very, culturally Christian. And it was very just you went to church every Sunday. It's just the way it was. And sometimes that can have the effect of it's just a habit, it's just something you do. And it doesn't really reach all the way to your heart. And so I think around senior year of high school, I found out that a couple of friends of mine were spending their lunch breaks, and we had an open campus. You could drive to Taco Bell or whatever. But they were staying on campus and they were doing something. They didn't tell me what. And I found out that three of my friends every day for lunch had decided to sit in the middle of campus and pray for me and pray for my heart. And when I found out on accident, I said to Tara, David, what are you guys doing? And they just said, we love you, we care about you, and we know your heart is and isn't. And we think it's time for you to turn it around and, get on the right path and walk with the Lord. And that was so touching. And they weren't advertising it. They certainly weren't rubbing it in my nose. They were just being friends that cared. And that was so touching that I really checked myself. And within a week was, getting baptized a second time. And it was really something. Then I'd moved to California, went to USC Film School, and just got busy with life, really, really busy with life. And one of the things that happens to all of us, I think, as we get older, Corey, and maybe you've experienced this also, is we start to lose people. The older we get, we lose people and lost a father. And I do think there are certain moments in your life that make you understand at a very deep level that this is real temporary. And it's going to wrap up a heck of a lot sooner than you expect. And I can't even put my finger on the moment. But I decided to start walking with the Lord again. And I couldn't put my finger on that moment, but it was maybe an accumulation of moments of like really clearly understanding, like there's people I would love to, reconnect with someday when we depart this earth. And then within months of that decision and of me really giving my life over, my best friend in the world, somebody I met backstage at the Academy Awards, we were not being celebrated. We were there to work. But I met him backstage at the Oscars, goodness, 2 decades ago. He called me and he said, "Hey, man, I am so sick of doom scrolling social media and the negativity, the divisiveness that comes with it." He goes, "What if we put together something else? And we could replace doom scrolling with faith scrolling." And that's us, by the way, at the Academy Awards, if you can see the video. And I was like, man, I love it. Because I don't know if you remember this, but when COVID first hit and we were on lockdown, I think a lot of us discovered TikTok, and it was fun. It was silly nonsense. People were dancing, people were making jokes. It was lighthearted. It was actually a really great distraction from the fact that I hadn't left my house in 2 or 3 days.
Right.
But it evolved into what everything seems to evolve into, which is, negativity leads. Negativity grabs attention. And they've proven that, having self-righteous anger is one of the biggest dopamine spikes you can get. So now, you turn on TikTok or whatever, and you're confronted with all this negative stuff that's supposed to spike your anger, your dopamine. And when he called, I was tired of it. I was like, I'm on board. Say no more. He'd give me like 30 seconds of pitch, and I was like, you've said enough. I'm on board. Let's do this. And so we started Blessn, Blessn. It's on my cap if you're watching. And what I love about it is something, Corey, you said to me earlier, which is that sharing our stories, that's powerful. Giving out a lecture, telling somebody to straighten up and wagging your finger at them, that doesn't touch people. That doesn't convert hearts. But sharing stories, our own personal stories, really does. So I think that's maybe some of the potential power behind our social media app, Blessn.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that idea too. The doom scroll catches everybody, right? And yeah, the division is real. Like, you have a real point with how negativity just drives everything. I mean, you've seen it in all of media, not even just, these social media apps. You've seen it in all of media over the past, and it really has been a shift over the last 20 years where you don't get the positive. You don't get any good, even from the local news. It's like, what makes people watch it? It's all about the viewership. They want to see the destruction. They want to see the chaos. They want to see what's going to happen. And
they also want to be disgusted, and they want to hate. It's in human nature.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it? It's kind of weird how that plays out,
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it. I've turned on news stories or clips on social media and heard somebody did something that I think is awful, and I get that self-righteous indignation and but I do have to remind myself, they engineered that clip to do exactly that to me. And I don't think it's healthy to carry around that emotion with me the rest of the day. I'd rather carry around different emotions than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about growing up and your faith, I know that you said that you can't really pinpoint an exact moment on where that switch was flipped or where you had an aha moment, but it was like an accumulation of things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it led to you wanting to grow in your faith and follow the Lord again. Now I love the fact that it's just a bunch of little seeds that were planted, right? While you can't really pinpoint one exact moment, are there any examples that you could give me where you're like, okay, this, and not so much in the moment, right? Because sometimes, let's face it, most of the time when we're in the moment, we don't exactly recognize that God's hand is at work. But when you stop and you can reflect and look back at different moments in your life and say, hey, I think that might have been God. Do you have one of those that you might be able to share a story about?
I certainly do. I think some of those come along when we're at our lowest. I think I don't know that we learn a lot when we're skipping through the fields of flowers.
Yeah.
I feel like we learn quite a bit when we're the opposite place. And, I think during that exact period of time, leading into the COVID year, yesterday it was like a lot of moments that happened. Divorce, my one living parent was, diagnosed with something. And I think those are the times that cause us to reflect. So having a couple of those hit back to back, I think I didn't necessarily go through the cliched, what is the meaning of all this thought process. I don't think it was that as much as there has to be more to this than what I'm experiencing. Like this has got to mean something bigger than a series of ups and downs in our lives. And yeah, keep in mind, I was very much in a place of down at that moment. And I think that brought me back, it did bring me back to walking on the path, walking with the Lord. I do think that the process of being happy is not, like I just said, skipping through fields of flowers, but it's the series of ups and downs. And how does that leave you? And if you're walking with the Lord, it's going to leave you in a much better place,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that for sure. All right, so now you're lifelong. Well, not lifelong. Is Gerald your lifelong friend, or did you just say like 20 years?
About 20. Yeah, we met at the Oscars Academy Awards.
Yeah, that's where
maybe
you met.
20 years back. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when he first shot you that message and he gave you this pitch, because you guys were both in the same space with dreading the death scroll, the doom scroll.
Yes.
What was it that led to the idea for Blessn? I know you wanted something more wholesome. So what about your faith played into the design and the idea for what this is and what this became?
Well, I think one of the things that had struck me significantly was, often people get locked into their algorithm on TikTok or Reels or whatever. But sometimes, I know personally, if I've hovered over the wrong thing a bit too long, suddenly I'm getting content that I don't want. It could be really negative. It could be divisive. It could be, salacious, whatever. And I really thought, man, during a vulnerable moment like this, where I'm course adjusting, starting to walk the walk again, I don't want to accidentally stumble into an algorithm that's going to be feeding me this junk, because you cannot intend to at all end up with an algorithm that's just feeding you all sorts of stuff that you just don't want to look at or hear. So when he pitched this, I thought that's wonderful. Not that I'm advocating that we insulate ourselves from the world and escape it, but I know that every single one of us is guilty of picking up our phones when we're bored. And I know I do it maybe 10 times a day. We don't sit with our thoughts anymore. We pick up a phone and we start scrolling. It's like we're incapable of being bored now. So I thought, heck yeah, yes, this is a fantastic idea, because even unconsciously, when we pick up our phone and try to fill that void, we're consuming some message in those moments. It could be anything, but you're consuming a message of some sort in those moments. So I thought this is wonderful. This is especially for where I'm at right now, where other people will be vulnerable in their faith or not. Maybe they're doing great, but nonetheless, filling those moments with messages that other people have decided to feed you. I don't think any of us would have signed up for this in the beginning of the social media experiments that we're going through right now. I don't think any one of us, you, me, Corey, or anybody, would go through, hey, 10 times a day, I want other people to decide what to fill my head with. Like, no, that's a terrible idea. It's just not a good idea. So if we can really make it more about our faith, gratitude, wholesome content for younger people, I think we're better off.
I totally agree with that 110%. And I love that you pointed out that basically we don't know how to be bored anymore at this point. Like, we don't allow ourselves. Like, I say this about my kids all the time, Kevin. It's wild. Like, like if my kids don't have technology of some sort,
Mm.
they don't know what to do with themselves. I'm bored. Okay, well, go be bored. Well, I don't. That's how you learn the things that you enjoy. That's how you develop skills. And man, that's how you form a relationship with God too.
Yeah.
Spend that
I
quiet
will.
time with God.
Hmm. I think that's really lacking now.
Mm,
And I'm
absolutely.
fearful. I mean, it can only get worse from here. Like it's not like we're all as a society going to have an aha moment and put down our phones. It's not going to happen. I think the Rubicon has been crossed. This is what we live with now. So I think we have to adjust to this reality. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. But I would encourage anybody listening to put down your phone and go for a walk. That is incredibly, like, it's a good way to reset.
Yeah. Okay, so now tell me a little bit, just real quick, a little bit about what makes this app so different than say Instagram or TikTok. Yeah, we want, we're seeing that there's wholesome content, right? And what is it about the app
Yeah.
that makes it that way? Like, are there certain restrictions? Are there certain things you push more? How does that part of it work?
Yeah, that's a great question, Corey. I think we've tried a few different things to make it different. For one, with the advent of AI, we
Mhm.
can actually prohibit, if some jokester gets on there and decides to, you know, do stuff that doesn't align with our values, we can be alerted, which is great. But also, like, we really focus on the community aspect of this, and we want people to connect. And so it's not just your typical feed, and that somebody makes a video and then people write comments and that's the end of it. There's two things that we've done on purpose to make this much more communal. And one is you can do a video comment. So let's say you, Corey, made a video today about whatever you've learned in the past week. Somebody else might put a video literally underneath your video in the comment section saying, whoa, I had the same revelation. Here's why. And so we're trying to facilitate a back and forth that's more than a video and then written words. And two, and more importantly, once we get enough folks to join, and let's say we pass that threshold where it's becoming more and more people being told about it in real life and people are sharing videos, I imagine there'll be certain creators who are getting a lot of attention and that their messages are resonating very strongly. That could be pastors, that could be college kids, that could be just nobody, anybody. And when we get to that point, there was a feature where you can actually book a personalized message of faith from that person. So if it's a pastor, you can say, hey, my grandma turns 99 today. Can you, give her a passage and a prayer? Or if it's, somebody who resonates that's on a college athlete and you're a college athlete and you can say, hey, man, I just want some encouragement before the big game. And you can literally order videos from people that are creating on there. And again, we use AI there to prevent people from requesting things that don't align with our values. But we're really trying to facilitate more than a TikTok situation where people are almost fans of who's on there. Like, we're trying to make it more communal. So I think some of our features are going to do that.
Oh, I really do like that, Kevin. I love the uniqueness of all of that. And I'm really glad you hit on that second one right there, because I noticed when I signed up myself that it had that kind of feature. I got an email about that and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. I like that.
I'm glad you joined, man.
Yeah.
I think you would be fantastic. You've got such a good, speaking voice and such a good presence. I think more sharing from you. That's what we need.
I really appreciate that, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get the videos rolling out.
Sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to wrap this up the same way I wrap up all of my other episodes. First, I'll let you have the floor quick. If you have anything else you want to hit on or discuss, you want to touch on, just feel free.
Yo, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your time. One of the things that we're really focusing on now is young people joining because we've been made aware we live very near a Christian college, and we've been spending time on the campus, and we've been made aware of a secular app that even the Christian college students are using that is unbelievably filthy. Like, people are saying terrible things on it. And I don't know why that would catch on even with Christian youth, but somehow it is. So we're really trying to reach the young folks and say, come over here, get away from that stuff. You certainly don't need to fill your heads with it. So if you're, church and your followers on this program have kids that are, 18 to 24, whatever, maybe encourage them to come over here where it's a little more wholesome and a little more aligned with Christian values.
Absolutely. Okay. So one more question for you, and then I'll let you go here. If you could take one piece of advice from your testimony, your story, your life, that you could give to somebody that's listening today to help them out of one of their darkest moments and bring them back to their faith, what would that piece of advice be?
It's a tough one. It's funny because pieces of advice I'd hand down to younger me pop in my head all day. But I will say this is something that everybody should believe to their very core. What's happening right now is temporary. We know that as Christians. But I also mean it from the perspective of today's trials and tribulations, or even today's victories. They're temporary. So, as they say in Hollywood, don't let your good press go to your head. Don't let your bad press get you down. From that perspective, what you're going through right now, yes, is real and it hurts, or it's, difficult. But it does pass. And us as Christians, we have the added benefit of having community with one another that we can lean on. But everything passes. Every horrible emotion, every terrific emotion. Things go by and somehow we all reset. So don't ever mistake a negative moment for being a permanent moment. It's simply not.
As we close, I'm reminded of the words from Lamentations. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Kevin's testimony is a living picture of that truth. That even in seasons of loss, confusion, or drifting, God's mercy keeps breaking through. I'm grateful for Kevin's honesty, for his heart for community, and his desire to create spaces where faith can flourish instead of fracture. If you have young people in your life, or if you're just tired of the noise, check out what he and his team are building over at Blessn. If something in this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need that reminder today. And if you're in a dark or uncertain place yourself, hear this. What you're facing is not permanent. God's mercy is already waiting for you tomorrow. He has a way of meeting us in the low places and lifting us into something new. May the Lord steady your steps this week. May He give you rest for your soul, and may His new mercies meet you every morning. Don't forget to follow the show over on Spotify or Apple and leave a rating or review. It truly means a lot to the heartbeat of the show. And if you have your own story to tell, please reach out. BonesToLifePodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, let's keep these dry bones rattling.